How golf exposes the real Trump.
Would rather be playing golf.
Like, the number of times that he's like nodding off in a meeting.
Just look at him. He loves it. He took a break from discussing the wars in Ukraine and Gaza to play a quick round at his Scotland course. And while overseeing a war in Iran, Trump found time to golf.
I've never understood golf. I've golfed maybe 4 times in my life. It was fine. But not an activity I would ever do if I had to pay money. I did it through work, so it was a work golf tournament. So everything was free.
Florida.
Which is why I golfed.
Of course, many presidents loved golf. Obama played on 333 days over his 8 years in office. Trump, though, has played at least
338. So that's like a year of golf. 1 in 8 days of golf.
360 days in just over 5 years.
Ooh, he got him beat.
But as much as Donald Trump loves golf, golf historically hasn't loved him back.
Trump built skyscrapers all over New York City, became a TV star, and bought more than 18 golf clubs, some of them rich with history. Yet golf's elite refused to let him join their clubs.
Really?
Trump then became the United States president, and pro golf ran the other way.
The PGA announced it was cutting ties with Trump's Doral Golf Club.
The PGA Championship will no longer be played at Trump National Golf Club.
The golf world is built around exclusivity and privacy and all these old-fashioned notions of what a good country club man should or should not be. And Trump will never, ever be one of those guys. He's just Donnie from Queens, and it kills him.
He's too low class to be a part of the in-golf group. Oh, that's crazy.
But in Trump's second term, golf seems to be coming around. Golf's leaders are praising him.
He believes strongly in the game's power and
You get enough money, you get enough power, you'll be on the inside.
potential.
Its tournaments are crawling back,
The PGA Tour is returning to South Florida for Trump National Doral.
and Trump's golf empire is rapidly expanding.
Perfecting your swing at Trump International Golf Club, Oman.
So this is the story of how Donald Trump finally got golf to love him, and how he's turning his passion into power.
He'll go through the motions and do what he has to do as president, but I promise you those things mean more to him than anything else on his agenda.
Today in golf.
Look how happy he looks.
Agenda.
Today in golf. Anybody view what happened?
Compare that to him sleeping during all the meetings in the White House.
At the start of Trump's second term, pro golf was in a crisis. So let's start with why.
In the early 1900s, pro golf was a mishmash of tournaments in the US and UK. The most prestigious would become the 4 majors. The Masters was always at Augusta National Golf Club, while the others rotated among elite clubs. These were governed by men in exclusive associations. They weren't just golf's elites, but societies. Meanwhile, golf players didn't have much of a say. If they played well, they got paid, and if not, they didn't. That changed in the 1960s when a few fed-up pros created an organization called the PGA Tour.
I think that's the
It
only
set
one
a
I've heard
schedule
of.
of tournaments, sold sponsorships, and shared the money with players who joined. All the best ones soon did. And over the following decades, sponsors and TV broadcasters paid more and more to advertise, next to its legends. Superstars
I still don't understand why anyone would watch golf.
and guys named Tiger.
Looks very good.
I mean, that was just good.
By the 2020s, other tours had emerged, but none had the money or exposure to threaten the PGA Tour. It was elite.
So it's like push the other one, the US Open and the Masters.
Players' only option,
and more than a few were sick of it. The tour had bloated to more than 40 tournaments a year, most using the same 4-day format and the same old genteel broadcast.
Oh, stay there, and it's coming back.
Wow.
Oh,
It didn't really innovate because it didn't have to. The
so boring. Oh,
product got a little
boring.
tired and stale.
Wow. Even he
The
sounds
growth
bored.
was stagnant.
Alan Shipnuck has covered golf for 30 years and written 10 books on it.
It had not really ever evolved from how the product was presented and how the players were compensated. And it was an old-fashioned business operating in an outdated way. That made it vulnerable.
In 2021, Live Golf launched with no TV deal or players, just 8 tournaments and a limitless pile of money, not from sponsors, but from the government of Saudi Arabia. For decades, oil made up the Saudis' whole economy. But as the world began using more alternative energy sources, the Saudis looked for other ways to make money. The job fell to Yasser Al-Rumayyan, governor of the $1 trillion Saudi Sovereign Wealth Fund, and golf addict. He felt that
Like, I think golf will still be popular in like 50 years, but it's not because it's a fun sport. It's because they've created this like exclusivity around it, right? Like, it's not particularly fun to play.
funding a new tour could help modernize his country and lead to lucrative opportunities.
Golf is this juicy vehicle for reaching business leaders and getting access to the halls of power. Yasser just believes in all those things, and he had the resources of the state behind him.
Liv began paying players staggering sums to switch over from the PGA Tour. Nearly $125 million for a 2-time major champion, and $200 million for a 6-timer, more than 10 times their 2021 winnings. In its first year, Liv got dozens of players to defect.
Now, these Live players paid a price. Banned from PGA Tour events, trouble qualifying for majors, and a lot of them had to answer uncomfortable questions about taking money from a Saudi government that has a long history of human rights abuses.
You were reported as
like the thing with sports washing, which is what they're getting into here, where the Saudis spend so much money to kind of like override their history with sports and just other forms of media to kind of like dilute or try to move past their human rights abuses. The issue with sports washing is that it goes both ways. When you sports wash, like, you also get washed by the sports. It's not a one-way thing. The more you lean into this, the more the Saudi society will resemble our society. The more, like, because it's directly connecting them, right? And so the more connection there are between these societies, the more they'll resemble each other. And so, like, I personally have no problems with sports washing. I think it goes both ways. If they're willing to put hundreds of millions, billions of dollars into it, why not? I mean, it's gonna, if there's this much money to be made, it's gonna increase the value and the participation in the sport. And like, that doesn't hurt anyone. I think that only has benefits.
describing the Saudis as scary. What did you mean by that?
I don't condone human rights violations. Nobody here does. I've also seen the good that the game of golf has done throughout history.
If Vladimir Putin had a tournament, would you play there?
If you offer $200 million, absolutely.
But as the Live Tour teed off and showered players with champagne and cash, more took the plunge. Much to the surprise of the PGA Tour.
Up it goes! Victory for Dustin Johnson!
How does it draw that kind of crowd? Like, almost like every other sport I can understand. Most sports are fun to play. This one was not.
Underestimated how much people like money, and they overestimated how a significant portion of their players cared about tradition and history.
The PGA Tour started paying its players more, but couldn't stop the bleeding. And by 2023, golf was in a full-blown civil war.
They've turned their back on what has allowed them to get to this position.
We should be able to do whatever we want. We're independent contractors.
You know, these guys have broken rules and there are going to be consequences.
You can think whatever you want. Opinions change, man.
The tours sued each other, and while LIV could afford to pay millions in legal fees, the PGA Tour couldn't. In June 2023, it announced a deal. It would unify with LIV.
What?
Al Rumayyan and PGA Tour.
You telling me that the Civil War ended with them just joining
Commissioner
together?
Jay Monahan laid out a framework for the two tours, plus the European tour, to merge into one backed by Saudi money. They felt it was an elegant solution, but the players didn't.
It was felt like a betrayal.
Because the people that stayed with the PGA, despite there not being this much money there, like it was a tradition to them rather than just money. So
to a lot of the tour players who had kind of bought into this legacy argument, like, hey, they're the bad guys, we're morally righteous.
I mean, like, pitting the two sides against each other, that's how you create content. When you merge and you bring it all into one, like, that's boring. The Civil War, like, that's what sounded exciting. And you telling me they just got rid of that already?
I can take their money. Wait, what? We're gonna take their money, like, at an institutional level? Wait, what? I thought we hated them. Now they're like our investors and maybe our bosses.
Another problem was a merged tour might be a monopoly, which would be illegal without the US government's approval. The Justice Department investigated, and the Senate held hearings. That didn't really help.
Today's hearing is about...
I mean, like, what a low-stakes monopoly. Like, you look at Google or Meta as a monopoly. Like, that's a high-stakes monopoly. A golf monopoly is a low-stakes monopoly.
Much more than the game of golf. It's about how a brutal, repressive regime can buy influence.
The two tours merger seemed dead until the US elected a new president.
I mean, like, everyone says this until they're the ones being offered money. Like, I'm not saying that Saudi Arabia has a great history. I'm just saying that more integration between their system and our system, like, I think it will improve their system. Like, doesn't Saudi Arabia... Which one should I ask? I've been trying out this one. Let's go for a new chat. How does Saudi Arabia currently do with human rights? Are they making progress? I heard women now have the right to drive. I think. Let's see. I mean, let's see if it's having any effect. Because, like, all the people that go over to Saudi Arabia and then participate in these things, like, they always come back with good stories. Like, they were well received. The people there were friendly. Like, it's always good stories. Yeah, Saudi women have the legal right to drive since June 24th, 2018. Over 120,000 women applied for licenses on the first day alone. That reform was real and significant, and it came alongside other social changes. Cinemas have reopened, concerts and fashion shows are held, gender segregation rules have been relaxed, and the religious police have been sidelined. Religious police? I didn't even know they had religious police. Women's workforce participation surged from 17% to 35.6% in 2022, surpassing the Vision 2030 target. Saudi Arabia has also appointed its first female ambassador and sent its first female astronaut to space. However, the broader human rights picture is mixed, and many advocates argue the reforms are surface level while systematic repression continues. Ongoing concerns. Male guardianship persists. Despite the driving reform, Saudi Arabia's 2022 personal statute law codifies guardianship rules, requiring women to obtain a male guardianship permission to marry and mandate obedience to husband. Activists imprisoned. Several women who campaigned for the right to drive were arrested in 2018 and remain subject to travel bans. A prominent driving campaigner was arrested just before the ban was lifted, imprisoned until 2021, and still lives under a travel ban. Broader crackdowns. Women have reportedly been jailed for offenses ranging from not wearing an hijab to dancing in public or tweeting their opinions. Workers' rights. Saudi Arabia recently signed a 2026 memorial to strengthen labor rights and claims to have abolished the kafala sponsorship system. But human rights groups say tangible improvements remain to be seen, especially with massive infrastructure projects underway for the 2034 World Cup. Bottom line, Saudi Arabia has made genuine social and economic reforms, particularly around women's mobility and employment, but international human rights organizations emphasize that these are societal reforms rather than fundamental human rights reforms, and the kingdom remains an inherently discriminatory system where dissent, especially from the very activists who won those reforms, is often met with imprisonment. Okay, so there does appear to be movement. If women participate in the workforce, they have just more say in society. And so if this number is going up, women are getting more of a influence in society. Like, you can't expect a nation to change overnight. As long as we continue to see movements in the right direction, like, that's all we need, like, in my opinion. And it does appear we are seeing movements. They say, I mean, keep on them. The human rights organizations should still definitely be looking into and bringing up all these concerns. But the more integrated their society and Western society becomes, the higher this will go, and the more influence individuals like women will have in their society, and then that's where you'll see change. I think it's having a pretty good effect, honestly. Like, I remember they went into Iran. Iraq? What was the last war the US went into? Iraq, right? Yeah. They went into Iraq and they essentially tried to force a bunch of changes, like women's rights and tried to push these changes onto the people. And then when they left, everything reverted. Everything was bad. Let me check that again. When the US was in Iraq, they pushed for women's rights. When they left, was all that progression lost? Progression. Let's see. Because I remember hearing about that. This, like what the US and Saudi Arabia are currently doing, appears to be functioning far better than the war. Like, you can't expect changes overnight, but as long as we are moving in the right direction, it does look like we're doing that. I mean, what was that system that they had? Recently signed amendment to strengthen labor rights and claims to have abolished the CAFLA. The CAFLA sponsorship system was terrible. Like that was an abusive system. And so even them coming out and stating that they're trying to get rid of it, like that's progress. The short answer is much of it has been lost, and in some ways Iraq is moving backwards. But the full picture is more complicated than the US push for rights, then they collapsed. What the US occupancy actually did, contrary to the popular narrative, the US led invasion and occupation administration did not primarily push for women's rights. Instead, it installed political groups, many of them Shiite and Islamist parties, that immediately tried to abolish Iraq's 1959 Personal Status Code, one of the most progressive family laws in the region. That code, written with input from Iraqi feminists, included the first female minister in the Arab world, had established a minimum marriage age of 18 and guaranteed women equal right in marriage, divorce, inheritance, and custody. The US-backed political system based on sectarian power sharing created space for conservative forces to chip away at those protections. Wait, are they saying that the US actually had a negative effect on this? The US-backed political system based on sectarian power sharing created space for conservative forces to chip away at those protections. Like, I don't think war is how you do it. What has happened since the US withdrawal? The rollback has accelerated, particularly in family law. Child marriage legalized in practice. Courts ruling 9-year-olds mature. Loss of custody protections. CEDAW condemnation. The bottom line, the US occupation did not leave behind a strong foundation for women's rights. It actually undermined the sectarian legal framework that existed before 2003. Since the withdrawal, the situation has worsened legally, with the 2025 amendment representing the most serious rollback in decades. The fight now is being led by Iraqi women activists themselves, not external powers. So, the US entering the war and occupying them pushed them back. And then when they left, the women's rights regressed even more. Shit. Like, what the Saudi Arabia way of doing things is just better. integrating the economies and the societies more, and then the societies like rub off on each other, and you see far more progression in Saudi Arabia, and like you're seeing regression in Iraq after the war. Ugh, I don't want to see something like this in Iran. That would be terrible. Okay, I've gotten distracted. What was I doing? We were talking about golf. I preferred the Civil War days.
Who could not have
I
been
mean, I know nothing about golf, but I prefer the Civil War days.
more ideal for them.
If you shave, you probably noticed this. Each new razor seems to have more blades than the last. First there are 2, then 3, and now 4 blades.
This is probably going to be Henson again. I don't get it. Look, more blades, more better. In my opinion.
You may assume that the more blades must equal a better shave.
Exactly.
But here's the part that nobody explains. Once that first blade cuts the hair, all the other ones just kind of drag along the skin.
No. Like what if the first blade doesn't do a good job? Then you need that second blade. Like, and then what's the third blade doesn't do a good job? You need that fourth blade.
Again, those blades aren't really helping much. They're just adding contact and friction. It's not even that your skin is sensitive. It's that the design of the razor is to make up for inconsistency instead of actually fixing the cut. So what would make more sense is a razor blade.
I'll say this, but I never had a Henson razor. I had a knockoff one. Maybe it just wasn't
blade
as
that gets
good.
the cut right the first time. That's the idea behind the Henson razor. The Henson razor has just one blade, and it controls the geometry down to just a few microns, so it cuts cleanly and predictably. Less repetition, less friction, and less irritation.
Like when you have just one blade, it reminds me of single blade shaver. No, like the old barber shop. This one. When you have the single blade, this is what it reminds me of. When you see those old movies where they like snap it out, they put the stuff on you and they cut with the single razor. That's what it reminds me of. So like this is kind of the thing they're going for, right? You can do it right with one blade. Okay, I think we were talking
So here's
about
the deal
golf.
right now. Visit hensonshaving.com/searchparty or use the code searchparty and you're going to get 100 blades for free with the purchase of a razor. That's more than 2 years worth of blades. Now make sure both products are in your cart
If
for
you
the
don't
code
lose
to
them.
work. Now I've been using a Henson razor for about a year now. I genuinely do recommend it. If you want to support my work, support the channel, and
He's
get a
gonna-
better
he's gonna-
shave, visit hensonshaving.com/searchparty right now.
Nice
Thanks
shave,
again to Henson,
so-
and I'll take you back to the story.
Okay, how does Trump come into this?
Donald Trump's played golf his whole life. He may drive his cart on the greens, a huge no-no, and occasionally a caddy move.
Who wants to walk on the green? Come on. Golf carts half the fun.
It's his ball, but he's actually pretty good, as you can see in this video.
Oh, beautiful. Come on. Oh, what a
I
shot!
mean, if you've played for so long, you
Beautiful.
better.
Thank you. Can you guys?
My ball did every time. Like the thing would would
believe that
shoot,
driving?
and then it would go way off to the right. And I don't. To this day, I still don't know how to get it to go straight. What I would do is I would change my feet angle and I would shoot way off to the left, knowing it would curve to the right. And I did pretty well with that tactic.
Get in there. Let's go! That's how we do it.
In 19...
Imagine those people that are like, you figure they're basically paid to hype and golf with and hype Trump.
In
up.
1999, Trump bought a struggling Florida golf course and turned it into the luxurious Trump International. Over the next 15 years, he bought a dozen more and began hosting pro tournaments at them. First in women's golf, including women's US and British Opens, then a men's PGA Tour event at Doral. Still, Trump begged for a men's major. Hosting one wouldn't just earn him millions, it would put him in golf's inner circles. In 2014, Trump finally won the rights to host the 2022 PGA Championship at Bedminster. And rumors said he'd get a British Open at Turnberry next. Golf was just about to let Trump in until he ran for president.
When Mexico sends its people, they're not sending their best.
In response, the PGA Tour moved this tournament to Mexico City. Then in 2021, after Trump's...
That's spiteful. That's spiteful.
Supporters stormed the Capitol. The PGA Championship moved to Oklahoma.
These were incredible repudiations for a sport that's always been decades behind other sports on issues of race and gender. Golf took a stand, and that wounded Trump so deeply.
But right as golf banished Trump, this new tour emerged. It had tournaments, but nowhere to play them. So it struck a deal with Trump. His opulence blended well with Liv's flashy style. They were golf tournaments wrapped up in a MAGA party.
You can't make it. You can't.
It meant that when Trump became president again,
I actually find mini golf more fun than at golf. There's more going on to it.
And in 2020,
the actual putting stuff, that's cool.
25, he had a unique interest in both tours.
Especially if there's like a crocodile and you gotta like shoot through its mouth. Like that's fun.
And the power to approve their merger.
The second Trump got reelected, everyone's like, don't worry about the antitrust. He'll make that go away.
Now, the president doesn't technically approve corporate mergers directly, but he does pick the people who lead the agencies that do.
Already this term, the Trump administration allowed a merger of two giant steel companies, two of the biggest US credit card companies, and let studio Paramount Global merge with Skydance, helping its owner and Trump's close friend build a media behemoth. So a golf merger felt like a tap-in. Al-Rumayyan met Trump at sports events, while Monahan met him at the White House, then glazed him.
He wants to see the game reunified. We want to see the game reunified.
But like, you could do so much more with a civil war in golfing.
His involvement has made the prospect of reunification very real.
Liv kept its two tournaments at Trump clubs, while the PGA Tour gave one back. UK officials even began pushing for the British Open to go to Turnberry. Golf wasn't just falling in love with Donald Trump, it was making him king.
You cannot overstate how much these things mean to Trump. Trump thought he was going to be the one who brings peace to the golf world. And that might be his ticket to finally getting into some of these clubs who never have him. But he couldn't get it done.
While Trump may have removed the legal problem, the two tours couldn't agree on the details. The PGA Tour's players resisted, and eventually it took over $3 billion from a private equity firm, ending its need to merge with Liv.
PGA Tour has won the war. Now, Liv can keep going. Maybe it is the second most important tour in golf, but it tells you how far apart they were that they were able to just basically blow off the President of the United States and someone who now hosts tournaments on both tours.
Even though Trump didn't reunify golf,
wait. So the Civil War still rages. PGA's winning.
The love and respect that he's always wanted from golf.
Still.
And now he owns a golf empire that's getting him even more.
Second term exhibits maximalism in terms of the president's profiteering.
Donald Sherman leads Citizens for Responsibility and Ethics in Washington, which investigates government corruption.
A significant portion of it is visits to his properties.
During his first term, Trump made dozens of visits to his properties and golf clubs. But a year into his second term, he's already made more, spending more than a third of his time at them. Each visit funnels government money to his properties and signals that they are the places to access him. It's why special interest groups like crypto companies and advocacy organizations have paid to throw events at Trump's properties while they lobby him. And why foreign governments from Israel to India are staying in his hotels while they try and influence him.
Foreign governments visit to Trump properties. European Union 7. I mean, did anyone expect to see anyone else at the top? I bet you if Argentina goes, then Israel will have to go again.
The president enjoyed his most lucrative year ever in his first year back in the White House.
While his property business booms, Trump is expanding it. The Trump Organization has 10 foreign properties and at least 22 more in development. They include golf courses in Qatar, the UAE, Saudi Arabia, Oman, Vietnam, and Indonesia. These foreign properties brought in around $100 million for the Trump Organization in 2024, up from $19 million in
Wasn't there one golfer being paid like $200 million? And all of Trump's properties bring him $100 million? Maybe that was like the sign a contract and this is a yearly thing.
2020.
The issue is the Constitution explicitly prohibits Trump from profiting from foreign governments. Because if he did,
that foreign government
conflict of interest. It is.
Can leverage their financial investment in that leader to get policy outcomes.
8 new properties are in partnership with one company, Dar Global, which has close ties to the Saudi government. Dar Global paid the Trump Organization at least $26 million in licensing fees for just these 2. A Trump Tower near Dubai and a seaside resort in Oman, complete with a, quote, championship golf course. Since then, Trump's agreed to sell advanced fighter jets to Saudi Arabia and cutting-edge AI chips to Saudi Arabia and the UAE. Trump originally bought golf courses as a way to buy influence in the sport, but now he's also using them to sell his influence as the president.
When foreign governments can buy a seat at the table, the American people...
I mean, like, do we sell a golf course? Let Trump build a golf course in Canada somewhere? Maybe that'll help the USMCA or Kuzma. Maybe we could rename it Kuzma. Let him build a golf course somewhere.
suffer. The American people have less of a say.
Trump's climbed back into golf's good graces and is making a fortune. But can he get that one thing that he wants most of all?
The British Open is golf's oldest tournament and run by its most exclusive club, the Royal and Ancient Golf Club of St. Andrews.
The Royal and Ancient Golf Club of St. Andrews. To have Royal and Ancient in your name.
They've given the Open to Turnberry 4 times before Trump took over, and he's begging them for a 5th.
They want to be back here very badly. They think I'm a controversial figure. Everybody says it's the best course in the world, but, you know, sometimes controversy is good.
Now, you'd think that owning one of the UK's most historic golf clubs, hosting tournaments for both major tours, and becoming the president twice would be enough to get a British Open. But for the most exclusive club in golf, apparently it isn't.
The Tweedy gents who run that tournament absolutely refuse. They just don't want Trump to come in and overshadow their whole shows. They're
just not gonna let him.
They are the last line of defense on Donald Trump sports washing his own reputation, and they just won't do it.
Thanks again for watching another episode of Search Party. We're coming out with stories every 2 weeks.
I thought we were gonna get into like more about how it exposes Trump. That was just Trump's golf empire, essentially.